So you're looking to set up your own fish room. I would say, a smaller fish room, but then I guess there's a couple things that I learned that I would like to share with you guys. First of all, while I was researching this, a lot of the videos that I came across start off with, know what you're gonna do. Know if you want a breeder setup, or if you want a display setup, if you want like a gallery style, to know just it. I get it because it saves the time of figuring it out along the way. But you guys know my setup. This is my breeder wall, and then I've got the rest is kind of like a display setup. I like it like that because I couldn't make up my mind. I mean, just having the breeder set up, to me, it's kind of boring. I know a lot of people get into this and decide they want a fish room to breed for profit. But that wasn't mean. If that's the case, then I get it. But for me, that wasn't really why I wanted to do the breeder setup. Okay, scratch that. I did want to do breeder setup, so I have the ability to potentially sell fish, but I didn't want to create my fish room just to sell fish. I wanted to do it so I would enjoy it. So that's why I started off with the display setup. Just the tanks that I will scape and, stock with the fish that I like. Even when it goes for breeder setups, I stock it with fish that I like. I think it's pointless to try to just do it, only have fish that you think you're going to sell just for the purpose of selling. One is your water chemistry. Your water chemistry is, I've got guppies, plecos, African cichlids, flower horns. What else do I have? Medaka, bettas. Generally, most of the fish, minus the bettas, adapt easily to my water conditions, which is high pH, hard water. The bettas, I had to acclimate them, but they're fine now. So all these fish, I personally really enjoy. So it was easy for me to choose that route when breeding them. It was also very helpful that most of them breed very easily. I think whatever works for you. I feel like in a lot of videos, a lot of people, who I've asked for advice, start off with that. Decide between just one or the other. If you want to go full breeder, if you just want to go full display. I think you can do it both. I'm doing it both. And, it is the best of both worlds. Like, you are able to enjoy the hobby instead of just looking at it like dollar signs, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm at a point, I guess, where it's still building up. I haven't sold any fish yet. They are still out breeding. They're doing well. So the goal is to eventually be able to make enough money that it supports the hobby. So I'm not looking to get rich off of it, and I don't want to go broke just investing into this. So just somewhere where there's a balance would be ideal. Another big reason it's difficult to either decide if you're going full breeder or full display is the money. I don't know a single person that's built a fish room that, just started with, 2 to 5. I don't know how much ever $1,000 you're going to need from nothing to start completely fresh before even getting into the hobby. So when you are getting into the hobby, you have a couple tanks here and there, and you'll kind of build off of that, which is what I did. All these are pretty much new. 75% of them are new, and that's just going off 10 gallons and 20 gallons. So 10, 20 bucks approximately for each tank. It wasn't that much, but definitely I think building upon and expanding is what most of us do. I think maybe if you're a 1%er, you will have that lump chunk of money to just dump and start from scratch completely how you want it to. And if you do, I think that's great, because if I did, I'll do so many things differently, but it doesn't work. Second, this was the best investment I ever made. While the PVC situation is still not how I wanted it to be in the first place, it's just supposed to be a straight pipe going up, but I didn't have enough I think I didn't get the correct connector. So the pipe that goes to the hose, it was just supposed to be a straight piece. Instead, I got a T, so I just left it as it is. It's working fine, so I'm just gonna leave it how it is. But getting a central air system, I think, is very important. Depending on how many tanks you want to run, if you're gonna go somewhere, I would say even at the lowest, like 15 to 20, over 20 plus, definitely invest in a central air pump and a linear piston, because I can't even hear it. I've got other hang-on back filters, my sponge filters, everything else that makes noise inside this fish room, and it's not the air pump. I ran a few different ones before that one, and yeah, that was like pretty much all you can hear. But now it's just the bubbles splashing in the water. I think definitely it's the number one thing you should invest in if you are going to think about going to Fishroom. That one I got, you guys know from my previous video, it's from Aquarium Co-op, but I know there's the Alita ones that I've heard great things about. I think Danner makes pretty good ones, and a lot of people talk about the Gemco ones. I looked into Gemco, but for the smaller one, they've been out of stock for a while, and I didn't feel like I needed the larger one, because that one's huge. It seems like, I mean, like, it probably would have been fine here. It's probably about the same size as that, but I really wanted the smaller one. I think it runs from around like 30 tanks or so, but they were out of stock for a long time, and then so I decided to just pull the trigger and try the one from Aquarium Co-op. No complaints. I love it. It's running strong, 24/7. Not a single issue. It's been a couple months, I think, maybe a couple months, and you know, I still want to put in a couple more airlines, but for like, I have probably a couple dozen, and then like half of them are split off into other gang valves. Like, it's running like a champ. You never know what you're missing until you get one. So I mean, before that, I was content. I was fine. A little bit of noise here and there. Buy a couple air pumps. Like, it was what it was. But after I got it, like, I don't see how I lived without it. I mean, granted, I didn't have as many tanks, but I think that should be number one investment into your fish room. Secondly is, I guess tied for number one, is a rack system. Knowing how you are going to put your tanks. So the rack, obviously behind me, you guys saw in my last video that I built. Very cheap. I can space it out however I want. If I decide I'm going to put 20s here, I can just remove the top, add another row of cinder blocks, and then now it's taller. Vice versa, if I want to switch it up, I would take down this row, you know, take out a block from down here to lower it. I think it's great. It's very cheap. It's just laborsome. Definitely laborsome. I mean, especially if you're in a basement, I feel like if you have a garage fish room, I think it'd be really easy just to back up your car, open the door, and just lug out the cinder blocks. But this, just going up and down the flight of stairs into my basement from my car, which was outside, maybe 2 blocks at a time, because I'm not a big guy, but that took me a lot of trips. It was worth it. Only thing, if you are pretty handy with wood, I think wood prices have came down slightly since the pandemic happened. I have seen a lot of stands. A lot of people build stands with wood, and not a lot of wood. I've seen like a lot more water weight on, I don't know, 2x4s than I would have built. I built stands and I overbuilt them, but I think the 2x4s, like, they can hold a lot of weight. Like, even here, like, this is 3 2x4s going across. I probably would have been fine with 2. But I know, I think next time I would try doing a stand. I might. It's always that peace of mind aspect that kind of prevents me from trying it. And that's why I would always overbuild my stand. I have a stand that I built over here that's just holding my 12-gallon and a 5-gallon, but it can definitely hold maybe 400 pounds. Probably more than that. I could probably put a 55 on top of it and it would not even budge. But yeah, it's knowing how you're gonna set up. How my layout is, it's not ideal. I would probably be more uniform in my tanks, but it is kind of how you start and you kind of piece it together. And rearranging things is just difficult, especially if you have larger tanks. Like when I built the stand, I had to move my 75 gallon to the end of the wall, and that was, you know, that was a hassle. I had to bring my 33 gallon up here. Like if you have larger tanks, like it's definitely planning ahead, just trying to do it right in the most minimum times as possible would be the best advice. Going off of that, a side note is your mind is always going to change. Like right now, not right now, but I say within this past month, I have been shifting to, I want more nice like setups, like aquascaping. Like I want a tank, like an ADA style, super clean, rimless, nice hanging light with the cabinet under it that's just being very smooth and very clean. Where am I gonna put that? I don't even know yet. Like I don't have any space to put anything else right now, but it's just knowing that your mind's going to change. So just starting off with what you can, what you have, and making that a little bit slower process, I think would be the best. The next big thing is heating. So I am not fortunate enough to be in a closed room. Like I'm in the basement and it's just completely open. I've got my kitchen, I've got the living space, and I've got the stairs going upstairs, like right next to here. If I was in a closed room, I would definitely look for like a central heating type of system where I'm running like a dehumidifier or like a small heater with, you know, maybe my Inkbird with my heater plugged into it. And that way, when the aquarium temps to where I want it to be, the heater will just shut off. So if you are in a closed space, that's probably the easiest way to do it. Otherwise, if you're like me, most of your tanks are going to need heaters. Luckily, let's see, our basement temperature is about 73, 74 is where the water stops at without a heater. So it's probably 73, 74. That means it's probably a little bit warmer down here. my family like it pretty warm. So I think, it's a central air system and we have our thermostat set to about 73, 74. But I know my tanks without heaters, probably lowest is at about 73. So it works out because most of the fish I keep can stay at a 73. The guppies, the Medaka especially. What else do I have? No, actually that's about it. But that takes about all of my tanks. So 73 is good. Anything else, I leave it at about 76 to 78. I have my flower horns at a little bit above 80. Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, I've got 2 flower horn tanks that are above 80, between 80 and 82. Everything else stays between 73 and about 78, 79. So it's not too much heat, but most of the tanks do require heaters. So that's another expense cost that you guys are gonna have to look into. You are gonna have issues with heaters. I think they say traditionally about 3 to 5, maybe 3 to 4 years is about how long a heater lasts. So when it gets to about that time, keep an eye on it. You know, whether you're taking temps consistently or using like stickers like I do, just to give you an idea about where the water temperature is at. So that's always a good idea. Timers, that's another thing. My lights just went off. Can you guys see that? Yep, they just went off. So automation, I feel like is key just in lighting. I have almost all of my tanks on smart plugs, and then with those plugs I'll just set it to a different timer. My planted tanks, obviously I have it on for a little bit longer. Yeah, so I've got 3 timers set up for all the tanks that don't have a light that has a built-in timer function. So I think that is important. One, because you don't have to worry about it and you won't forget about it, you know. Number 2 would be consistency, especially for planted tanks. Having that consistency in a light cycle, for me, has definitely helped my plants grow. I feel like my fish are also on a schedule, so they know when it's time to sleep, when it's time to wake up and eat. I feel like that works out well for them. I have tried it where I have tanks that aren't on timers, so anytime I get home from work, I'll turn the light on, leave it on until I go to sleep. I mean, I can't ask them how they feel about that, but I feel like generally it's a lot easier just to leave that automated. Going off of that, if you are able to do an automated, like a water system, whether it's water changing or even topping off, that's up to you. I think it could be definitely beneficial. I've said that I don't want to get to a place where my fish room is more automated than hands-on, just because I don't feel like I'll have that connection with it. Mainly just because I want to be able to know what's going on with my fish, what's going on with my water, and have that interaction with them so I can enjoy the hobby and enjoy my fishing plants as well. Not saying that people who have automated systems don't, but I don't want to get to a place where I'm too comfortable with letting everything work and me probably just get lazy. I know how I am, and I just don't want to get there. So going off of lighting, it's pretty much how you're going to light your systems. Having a lot of tanks, it's going to be a lot of lights. Most of the people who I know that have fish rooms don't have a single light for each tank. That just becomes way too costly. My 20-gallon long rack, as well as this rack, has a whole DIY system with just light bars and just going into as minimal amounts of sockets as possible. So I've got that set up, and then you guys also know that I've got a bunch of aquarium lights on different tanks as well. I really like lights. I think I really like techie stuff, whether it's lights, heaters, anything, I guess, like a gadget. Like, I like playing with hang-on back filters, canister filters. So yeah, I mean, like, there's not, I can run my fish room pretty much with maybe 3 different lights that I have minus my racks, and I think I'll be fine. So I've got shop lights, I've got these DIY LED strips, and then I've got my basement lighting. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I've got like a lamp. I've got a couple lamps. So you guys can definitely find cheap lighting options. If you guys are running planted tanks, I've never tried it, but I've heard LED floodlights work fine. I'm pretty sure even shop lights work fine. It's just leaving them on for a little bit longer if it doesn't have that intensity. But it's always experimenting with what you have and kind of, either just tweaking it from there to be as efficient as possible. I think lastly, one of my most important tips is being near a water source. Luckily, just beyond this end wall is my basement kitchen. So it's pretty much my water station for my fish room. Nobody uses it. Not at all. Like, I don't think anybody would. That sink, all my water comes out of and goes into. The kitchen I use to make fish food. The fridge and the freezer, I've got some fish stuff in there, but it is an overflow from my family's kitchen upstairs. But I'm very convenient to have, it's probably 7 feet away from this wall, which is the furthest distance. So, it's very easy, I can just get a hose. You guys know I use like the Aqueon, almost like a Python system. And then I've got my big water, what are those called? My big water pumps to just drain the water out of the tanks. So just having that is very convenient. So you guys always want to keep that in mind when you guys are building your fish room. These are just things that I've learned while making my fish room. It's always messy. I'm always tinkering. I'm always changing my mind and doing new things. But stands, lights, heating, and filtration. I think those are definitely the first 4 things that you are going to want to plan or upgrade when you do think that you want a fish room. Bonus tip, time. Always know how much time that you're going to have. It is an investment. That more tanks equal more time. As simple as that. Know where your capabilities are. Know how much time that you can afford to allocate to, upkeeping aquariums, and then that's kind of gonna give you that range of how many and what sizes that you're going to be able to handle. You can always start smaller and then gradually increase, which I kind of did. I think that's a good idea. Or you can start from nothing and just start fresh and do it all in one go how you want it to be. So yeah, I hate moving fish tanks. I don't think anybody likes moving fish tanks. I think it's like moving. Nobody likes the moving part. If I had, I don't even want to think about if I had to move this around. So like, I'm gonna find a way to make it work and work around it rather than tearing down and moving, because it's like, that was at 4, 8, 9, I don't know, it's like 17 or so tanks behind me, and no. So always plan what you're gonna do. Plan how things are gonna go. May not look pretty, but I guess if it looks okay to you, that's all that really matters. Unless you're doing things like, you know, making videos or doing Instagram pictures, making a show area, you don't really need to worry about how it looks. I mean, I've got my wife to kind of have to satisfy her, and it's got to look somewhat presentable because we have company and people do come downstairs. So it can't be that messy, but fish rooms are messy, guys. I mean, like, I still got crap everywhere. Like, I'm looking for like corners and cabinets and things I can just hide things, but then that's how I misplace them. That's how I lose them. Anytime I clean, anytime I do a big clean when people are coming over, I can't find anything. I know some of you guys are like that. It's messy, but you know where everything is. And once you clean it, you lose everything. That's me. I try to explain that to my wife, but she doesn't understand. So that's it, guys. I mean, I don't know. Eventually, I want to kind of decorate more. I think I want to put like stickers or something. Like, I think it looks kind of bland. I mean, it looks cleaner, but I don't know. I got my Aquashella wall. That was a start, and then I've got some certificates and, you know, plaques over there. But I do want to kind of jazz it up. Maybe I'll make some decals. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned something today. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.